Many small businesses in Minneapolis are struggling in the wake of increased federal immigration enforcement in the city and, of course, protests for weeks. Business owners say that ever since Operation Metro Surge began in December, many workers are scared to go to their jobs and fewer people are out shopping. MS Now reporter Nnamdi Igwewanu spoke to some of those Minneapolis business owners today. Watch this.
We haven't been open, or it's just been a ton of fear for just us and our employees, and apart from that, our customer base, the families that we support, that we feed.
People are really scared. They're scared to leave their homes. They're scared to take their kids to school. They're scared to go to work. And these are some of the most hardworking people I've ever met.
There is income loss, being short-staffed, stretching ourselves as much as we can.
Revenues down 70%, or some just having to close entirely because they can't find the workers who are, feeling safe enough to come out.
If ICE was staying here forever, that means businesses will be closed for good, because you can operate in a fear.
Where's the humanity? That's my question.
It's been my question for weeks. MS Now reporter Nnamdi Igwewanu joins me from Minnesota tonight. I'm so glad you spoke to these business owners because they're in the middle of it. How are they staying afloat?
You know, Stephanie, so many business owners I've talked to over the last several months being here say they barely are. There's a widespread struggle taking place in the Twin City, and the reasons we're hearing are what you pointed out. There is less foot traffic because of a fear from both immigrants and citizens. I want to highlight to walking out and running into an encounter with ICE agents. There's concern among employees, particularly Somali employees, Hispanic employees, that if they try to go to work, they may find themselves caught up in the crosshairs. And I think a point that I've heard time and time again, particularly as I talk to experts, is yes, this is being felt among immigrant-run businesses. That's where you're seeing the the heaviest concentration of that fear, but it's also impacting non-immigrant-run businesses. I spoke to the mayor of St. Paul today. She told me that her office has been surveying different businesses, and what they're hearing consistently is that business is down anywhere between 60 to 70%, and that's in St. Paul. We meet Minneapolis. He spoke to the city's tourism board. They did a survey of 500 businesses here, and what they told us is they asked them a simple question: is this federal activity impacting business? 80% of those they surveyed said yes, and nearly all of them said the way that impact is being felt is through reduced sales. So the community has really tried to come together in recent weeks to show that support, whether it's through community aid funds, whether it's through gift card drives, to help keep some of these businesses afloat.
But this isn't the first time. Like, how do they compare what they're going through now to the business disruption they faced during COVID in 2020 after the George Floyd protests? I mean, these companies have struggled over the last decade.
That's such a good point. And, I asked that question, and one owner I spoke to actually laid it out pretty clearly. He said the economic uncertainty they're facing, it's the same. It's the same sort of, financial distress that they experienced then. The biggest difference, though, is they say back then it felt like the federal government was on their side. With COVID, there was loans and grants being offered to them. Even in the aftermath of George Floyd, while that became a very partisan issue, you saw pressure from the Trump administration at that time that the state do more to protect local businesses. So it felt then that the federal government was working with them, whereas now it feels like the federal government is the #1 cause of the financial distress many of these businesses are facing. So they've been here before, but it just seems like this time the federal government is working against them.
I read that there's also been an impact on health care. How?
Yeah, Stephanie, that's probably been the #1 concern that experts have laid out. Where we could see the biggest sort of economic catastrophic effect of all this is in healthcare. It's where most foreign-born workers in this state, the field they go to work in, it's where we see an oversampling of minorities in jobs like nurses, support staff at these hospitals. So there's this widespread concern that if immigrants stop coming to this state because of everything that's going on, there could be a collapse of that industry. There's already a ton of vacancies within the healthcare sector. But I want to play you a conversation I had with a local physician who talked about just the effect of the presence of ICE agents is having in her hospital and the concerns about the potential long-term economic ramifications of a sustained ICE presence here. Take a listen.
The environment in hospitals and clinics right now is really scary. There's a lot of fear from patients and from providers alike. We know that a lot of people are scared to come in for their health care right now. If people aren't coming in, we're not getting reimbursements for that care, we're not actually doing the job we're supposed to do, ultimately hospitals are going to be in more of a financial crisis than they already are.
And Stephanie, I'll just point out another fact that people have pointed out is the concern here goes beyond just hospitals. Immigrants make up about 1/3 of healthcare assistants, of elder care workers. So there really is a concern here that this entire healthcare industry could suffer if this ICE activity doesn't reduce in the next couple of months.